Was there a specific type of nurse that you wanted to be, or you just wanted to get into nursing?
So I've been a nurse for almost 17 years now. And
Okay. Baby
honestly,
face.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. No.
Hey besties, welcome back to another episode of The Nurse Aspect, where we assess and evaluate. I am your host, Nurse Becca, and today we have on the show Daphne.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Feeling? I'm good.
Good.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Good.
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Well, thank you for stopping by. I always appreciate a stop by.
Yes, of course.
So we're gonna get right into it like we always do. Why'd you get into nursing?
I knew that I always enjoyed caring for people. And so I decided that the healthcare was the field for me.
Okay.
Originally, I actually thought that I was going to become a PA. But when I went to school, as I was taking the prereqs, I realized that nursing may have been more of a better fit for me.
Okay.
And then my mom had spoken to me a lot about healthcare and how she wanted to become a nurse and some of the things that entailed. So I decided that nursing was the path that I wanted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there a specific type of nurse that you wanted to be, or you just wanted to get into nursing?
Honestly, I didn't know the specific type of nurse that I wanted to become until I did a rotation. I was doing a rotation at a hospital, one of my clinical rotations, and we just so happened to visit the NICU. And that's when I realized that I wanted to be a NICU nurse. But I didn't know before nursing school what kind of nurse I wanted to be.
How easy or not easy was it to get into NICU?
It was so hard.
Yeah.
So I've been a nurse for almost 17 years now. And
okay. Baby
honestly,
face.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. It was really hard. So I initially tried and they said you had to have experience before you could get anywhere near the NICU. So I ended up doing almost 5 years in adult hem-oncology, where I first got hired after graduating from nursing school before I could get a position in the NICU.
How did you like hem-onc?
You know, I really appreciated hem-onc because of the fact that it provided me with the skills that I needed, the basic skills that I needed as a nurse, in terms of how to assess a patient, things that I needed to look out for in a patient, specifically patients who are declining, because in hem-oncology, they decline really quickly. So I appreciated those skills, but it wasn't my passion, right? I was never going to be an amazing hem-onc nurse because it just wasn't my passion.
For those people who are not nurses, what is hem-onc?
Yeah, so for those people who are not nurses, hem-onc is pretty much the unit that specializes in the blood cancers, is what we call them. So things like leukemia, lymphoma, multiple myeloma, those are the patients that we treat in hem-oncology.
What did you dislike the most? Like, if you ever had to return back to, what would be the thing that would be like, oh my God, this is the one thing I hate?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is death and dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to move away from that aspect of nursing and constantly seeing death on a daily basis.
So then it took you 5 years to get into NICU, got in, and you loved it, hated it. What happened?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. If I were to go back to the bedside, I would definitely go back to the NICU.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How long were you in NICU?
I was in the NICU almost 4 years. Yeah, so about 3.5 years. I really enjoyed it. You know, babies are not as fragile. Preemie babies are actually not as fragile as we think. Being in the NICU actually is what helped to strengthen my faith.
Okay.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because seeing how resilient they were, it actually helped me to grow closer to my faith and believing that things can actually happen, like miracles.
Can you tell me about a miracle you remember?
I mean, honestly, every preemie baby to me is a miracle, right?
Oh,
I've seen 25-weekers, 26-weekers.
Wow, 25.
You know, make it out and they're okay.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Wow.
26-weekers. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, so for me, that it definitely strengthened my faith.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm still like shocked at the 25. Like for people who don't really work in that field, I know that 24 is really the cutoff. Like as a labor and delivery nurse, if somebody's coming into the hospital, and then I'm sure, you know, maybe other hospitals have different policies, but at my facility, if you are less than 24 weeks, we do not, you know, put on a like the monitor to listen to a heartbeat. So hearing that, like, you know, literally at 24 weeks is really, you know, kind of like viability.
Yeah.
But, you know, 25 is only 7 days, like, that's,
Yeah,
that's there's a lot of development that still happens, like, wow, like, to
absolutely.
see a baby being born at 25 weeks and not have, like, neurological defects, like, things like that, that is a miracle.
Yeah, it
Wow,
is a
that's
miracle.
amazing.
And I'm not saying they're perfect.
Mm,
They definitely, a lot of the patients that I took care of, they have issues here and there,
yeah,
depending on who the baby was and what happened during the course of their care. But for the most part, just to even see that baby grow into a baby who's feeding well, you
mhm,
know what I mean? A crying baby, right? A baby who's doing okay, right?
yeah,
From being so tiny, and being out of the womb so early.
yeah.
Just a miracle in itself to me.
No, for sure, for sure. Only because we're talking about NICU.
Yes.
Before we get into why you're really here,
Okay.
um, so recently in the news with, what do you think about the nurse that was, I wanna say that was down south, that, was down south or maybe Midwest,
Hmm.
that was breaking, the bones of babies that were in the NICU.
That is absolutely terrible, terrible. Like I can't even imagine what is going through somebody's mind to want to do something like that to a baby
Right.
who knows not to anyone. Honestly, it's deplorable. Like you know, it's just disgusting. It's really disgusting.
Honestly, I feel so bad for the parents because it's a vulnerable state,
Yeah.
here's your newborn child who is having health issues for whatever reason, has to be, in acute care, receiving acute care, and then you're trusting your nurses, like, especially
Exactly.
because you can't be in the NICU 24/7, you
Yeah.
still have maybe other kids to take care of,
Yeah.
or, you have to work because you need insurance to continue to pay. Like, you can't be there 24/7, and you're trusting your child in the hands of a licensed professional, that is like, it was
It's
completely
really
heartbreaking to,
disgusting.
yeah, for sure.
And my prayers go out to families and
Yeah.
the families that have gone through things like that and that family specifically. It's really disgusting to see that some of this stuff is happening. And I really just hope that that person is punished to the highest degree because it's really disgusting and it's not fair. It's
Yeah.
really not fair to that baby, to their family, to anyone, honestly. Um, it's really disgusting.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. But back on track.
Yeah.
So after NICU, what did you do?
So after the NICU, so while I was in the NICU, I was actually doing my master's degree. So I was
Okay.
getting my master's in nursing administration with informatics. So it was sort of a dual degree. And when I finished, I decided that I wanted to go into informatics.
So what's
Yes,
informatics like?
informatics was great,
Mhm.
honestly. It provided me with the opportunity to work remotely. That was the first time had ever worked remotely in my entire career.
Mhm.
Because, as nurses, working remotely is not really something that we think about
Yeah.
firsthand. So, provided me with that opportunity. I had a lot more time with my daughter, who was school age at the time in terms of she was in elementary school.
Mhm.
So I had a lot more time to come home after a 9 to 5, do homework with her and things like that. So
Yeah.
that was nice. And I learned a lot in informatics, just in terms of tech in general, right?
Mhm.
I'm definitely a tech type of a person. I love technology. I love learning everything about technology. And when I was working at the bedside, I would typically be the person that could troubleshoot a lot of the technical issues.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Babes, I needed you.
I'm here.
What typically I know you said that you work remote. What
Yeah.
would your day look like typically?
So my day would look like it depends on the day, but when I was working remotely, my day would look like me checking emails. If we had a specific, so I was supporting a clinic outpatient system
Okay.
or electronic health record,
Mhm.
and so I would have different tasks that were assigned to me for that day. I was also the lead trainer on the team. So there
Okay.
were times that I did have to go in and I had to train providers like NPs, physicians on the system who were, newly hired to a specific clinic within our enterprise. And I had to train them on the system before they actually saw patients on the system. So that was a part of what I did. But a typical day for me in terms of a remote day would be the tasks that were assigned to me in terms of monitoring the electronic health record. And there's also a patient portal. So sometimes we would be on call, different analysts on the team would be on call for a specific week. So if there was a patient who had an issue with logging into the portal or any portal questions, we were the folks that they would call for that, and we would help them troubleshoot it over the phone.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
I don't know why I would have automatically assumed, like, okay, that would have probably been, like, somebody in tech, like,
Yeah.
like you're calling, like, a help desk. I wouldn't think that that would be a nurse that's doing that.
Yeah,
Wow.
typically it not necessarily only a patient, because if we would route calls
Mhm,
specifically, like if it were a patient, for instance, we could route that call to the help desk.
mhm.
But sometimes we would have other folks in addition to patients call us. Based on you just being on call in general, anyone could call you. So you could reroute the call to the appropriate person, or if you
Okay,
had the answer to the question, then you can go ahead and answer the question yourself.
okay,
So we did have the ability to reroute that call if we didn't have the answer, for instance. But if I
okay.
had the answer, I'd just provide it. And then we would have, anyone. It could be a physician or somebody, an end user of the system could call us with a specific question about the system or an issue that they were having, and we would be there to support.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after informatics, where did you go from there?
Yeah. So I did informatics for, oh boy, I think I did that for about 4 years.
Okay.
And
You are a
then
loyal boy to
eh,
to the
yes,
fields.
yes. So I did that for about 4 years, from 2017 to 2021.
Mhm.
During that time, though, I was teaching part time. So I would lead clinical rotations with students in the hospital setting or long term care facilities. And I really enjoyed teaching.
Mhm.
And I decided at one point when I was in informatics that I wanted to take on teaching full time because I enjoyed it that much. And how I got into, so now I'm in simulations, on nursing simulations. How I got into simulations, I always say, is by accident,
Okay.
because what happened was with the clinical group that I had, we weren't cleared to go to the facility yet. And so they asked us to go into the sim lab, which was news to me because I didn't even realize we had a sim lab at this institution that I was working at, which happens to be my alma mater. I didn't realize we had a sim lab at the time. And I took the students to the sim lab, and honestly, the rest is history, because as soon as we got there, there was a gentleman there that was working there at the time who taught me everything I needed to know about how to operate the equipment.
Okay.
And then from there, I did my own research in terms of how to facilitate simulation scenarios, best practice, and all that stuff. And I ended up landing a full time position leading a
Wow.
simulation department.
So what's simulation like?
Oh my gosh, simulation is amazing. I feel like simulation changed my whole, you know, it changed my entire trajectory in terms of my nursing career.
Mhm.
It's just it's really fun for me. It's in the tech space, right? Because I love
Yeah.
tech, but then it's still nursing. When I was in informatics, I don't want to downplay my experience in informatics because I really enjoyed it. But I was more on the healthcare informatics side, not necessarily the nursing informatics side.
Okay.
So I was moving away from nursing a little bit because I was supporting more physicians and providers than I was nurses.
Okay.
And so I felt like I was losing touch of nursing while I was in healthcare informatics. And so I decided I wanted to get closer to nursing. And so that's when I decided to take the opportunity to go into nursing simulations full time.
So how did simulation come about?
Simulation nurse. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So my company, Simulation Nurse, came about. It's actually interesting. So, we talk about a lot about, or we hear a lot about how there's a shortage in nursing.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily hear a lot about how there's a nursing shortage in nursing education, and how there's an even more shortage in simulation education, right? While simulations are not new per se, um, I feel like after the pandemic, that's when schools or nursing schools started realizing the importance of the nursing simulation labs and that department overall. Just because we had less spots for our students to be in the institutions, in the hospital institutions, long-term care facilities, whatever the case may be, just because the pandemic happened and
Right.
they wanted less liability, that kind of thing. And so nursing institutions started realizing that they really need another way or another strategy, another method to teach their students, their nursing students, the skills that they needed to learn in order to become nurses, right? And so now there's this huge focus on creating that space outside of the hospital setting, a psychologically safe space for students to be able to learn the same skills that they would be learning in the hospital setting, but in a controlled lab environment. I talk about simulation, but a lot of people I talk about simulation to, their first reaction to me is, what is that?
Mhm.
So many people are not aware of it. They're
Like, you
and
talking about, like, in the nursing field or outside of the nursing field?
in the nursing field and outside of the nursing
Oh,
field,
interesting.
both, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah. So many people are not aware that it's a career path, right?
That I'm not gonna lie, I also did not know that it was a career path. I
Yeah.
always assumed, maybe not assumed, but I remember when I was in college, for a simulation, I wanna say it was clinical instructors, but now that I'm really thinking about it, I don't ever remember seeing those instructors in clinicals, but I also went to a bigger school too, so perhaps, but I did not realize that this was a path like that you can have education in it or, be certified in it. Like I had no idea that
Yeah.
this was a thing.
Yeah, it's a whole career path. So, to answer your question, how simulationers came about, it's interesting because since I began in simulation, I'll give you an example. For the first institution that I got hired full time, I was the one of the only people in the department altogether. And this is a nursing school of hundreds of nursing students, right? So, in order to facilitate simulations, we needed more than one person, right? Just dedicated to specifically simulations by itself. Being one of the only people in the department doing solely simulations, it was hard because there's so many students and there's only one of me,
Yeah.
right? Getting people hired into the department was a challenge, a huge challenge. And just because people aren't aware of simulations, but not only that, even if people are aware of it, they don't have any experience in it, right? It's not necessarily an opportunity that has been presented to folks. It's really hard to hire people into simulation with experience. There's very little people who have the experience in simulation.
Right.
And what would happen is a lot of the times when I was working somewhere, whether it be that institution or another one, I would have folks call me and say, "Hey, would you want to come work for us instead?" Because it's so hard for them. It's such a challenge for them to find simulationists.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so many phenomenal nurses. Like, nurses are so phenomenal. There's so many nurses that enjoy teaching that would absolutely love it if they realized that it was a path for them.
Yeah.
And so the idea behind Simulation Nurse is to empower nurses into the career path of simulation.
So how would one get started? So let's say I was like, you know what? I totally agree and I am inspired by you.
Oh,
Where do I start? I have a BSN degree. Where do I go from there?
wow. Okay. So what I would recommend is, let's just say you're working in a hospital facility, right?
Okay.
I'm pretty sure in your hospital facility they do things like mock codes.
Yes.
There's a nursing education department that you're
Yes.
aware of. What I would do is connect with your nursing education department, find out what resources they have in simulation. So get involved in the mock codes, get
Mm.
involved in the simulated experiences within that institution or within that facility, so
Okay.
you can kind of see what the framework for simulation even looks like. Pre-briefing, actually getting into the experience, and then the debriefing after the scenario has played out, getting used to and getting accustomed and familiar to the frameworks in terms of simulations so that you can understand what it takes to lead a simulation experience. I would say do that first and see if it's something that you enjoy, and ask questions, right? Get curious about it. The other thing that I would recommend is there are multiple organizations out there in terms of simulations that you can network and familiarize yourself with. Um, Such as the Society for Simulation in Healthcare, more specifically to nursing in Knoxville, getting familiarized with the nursing organizations and also the healthcare organizations that cater to simulationists, I would
Okay.
say would be some of the first steps to take.
Okay.
And then I'm also starting a new community, right?
Yes.
A
Okay.
Telegram
Do
community.
share.
Yes, a Telegram community for simulationers, which people can join. It's on my IG page,
Which is
link in
what?
my
How
bio.
did the people find you though?
Yes. So I am on IG right now. I'm on Instagram as simulationers. You can check the link in my bio. If you click the link in my bio, you'll see that I have the Telegram community there. I also have a free e-guide in terms of how to become a nursing
We love
simulation
free over
educator.
here.
Yep. Yep. It outlines how to become a nursing simulation educator and gives some tips on things that nurses can do to, get into that space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, inquiring minds want to know how lucrative or not lucrative is it?
Oh, it's very lucrative.
Yes?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
We're bringing bags and
So
bags of money, truckloads of money.
well, I don't know about that. We would hope, right?
Okay.
So the thing about simulation is you sort of have to, how should I say this? Showcase yourself,
Yeah.
right? So you have to showcase yourself on social media, on LinkedIn, so that people know who you are, right? And they know your skill set. So showcase your skill set. Showcase the things that you're doing in simulation so that people are aware of you. And use your knowledge and your experience in simulation to leverage your income, right? And negotiate your salary in terms of your income.
Okay.
So it's all about your skill set, right?
Okay.
And your experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you market yourself to like a hospital? Or how do you market yourself?
So for me, how do I market myself? Let's say I market myself on LinkedIn a lot.
Okay.
So on LinkedIn, I actually have a personal LinkedIn page, and whatever I'm doing in simulation, wherever I'm working, one of my inspirations in simulation said that you sort of market your brand and
Yeah.
let people know who you are. And so what I started doing is I started posting things that I was doing in simulation on LinkedIn, getting my name out there, you know what I mean? So that people are aware that I'm a simulationist and what I'm doing and what I have done in simulation. So just marketing yourself on social media, particularly LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna ask you a question in this sense. So I remember when I was in school,
Yeah.
and I used to kind of dread simulation days for a couple of reasons. I'm a very hands-on person. So I feel like like a lot of people
Yeah.
learn better as you're touching things, doing things and stuff like that, which you would think simulation would be the perfect thing for that.
Yeah.
However, I dreaded it because it was almost like a test, which was, I get, is the point. There were times I just felt like it was almost like too much and like a little not realistic.
Okay.
And I would always be praying. I'm like, please let my instructor just pass me. Just pass me. Like, no one has time for this. I just want to get out of nursing school. What would you say to me as your student?
Okay. So there's something in simulation called suspension of disbelief.
Okay.
And that's actually the responsibility of the simulationist or the nurse educator, whoever's leading the simulation experience in that department, right? And it's sort of setting the stage for the students so that they can take the experience as seriously as possible. And also suspending that disbelief, so providing them with information so that they're not confused when they're going into the experience, or feeling as if, oh, this is not believable. I'm not really taking it as seriously. And then also just being really nervous, right? I mean, I don't think you could take the nerves away from students. As a nursing student, I think in general, you're always going to be nervous, right?
sure,
Because you're
yes.
being tested, you're being observed, because obviously you have to get through nursing school. You
Right.
have to pass a licensing exam. There's a lot of nerves that go into just nursing school in general, right? But what you can do as a nursing educator is you can create a safe space for the students where you have that discussion ahead of time, and you suspend that disbelief, I should say, by giving them pertinent information ahead of time so that they're going into the experience with the tools that they need to succeed in the experience. Another thing is what we're using in simulation now are called standardized patients.
Okay.
And what standardized patients are, they're not mannequins, they're real actors.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're
Well,
real
that's
people.
different.
Yep.
That's real different.
Yeah, so standardized patients are getting hired into simulation labs a lot
Wow.
more often now so that we could provide higher fidelity. Fidelity means realism in simulation. So providing our students the opportunity to have that more realistic environment or more realistic
Yeah.
experience so that, they're not coming in and feeling like, oh, this is not real,
Yeah.
right?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I actually like that. That would actually make me like, all right, let me tighten up a little bit, because
I'm talking
it's
to a
just
real
a mannequin.
person.
I know, like like practicing CPR, like when you're trying to go down on the depth, I'm like, all right, I think I'm getting the coil back. I can't, but then it doesn't feel right. Not that I would expect to do a CPR on an actual
Actor.
actor,
Right.
right?
You
Like
wouldn't do
on
that,
patients,
but
yes, but that's cool that, like, that does make it more real.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, because you're communicating with a real person. You're talking
Right.
to a real person who's responding to you.
Yeah. And I
So
used to hate, it reminds me, like, I used to
uh-huh.
hate where, like, sometimes there would be some scenarios where someone would ask a question, which would be a valid question, but
Mhm.
they don't have like a it doesn't fit into the mannequin mold, like, or, so
Okay.
that's cool that exists. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, all
Yeah.
right, come on, 2026.
Yeah.
Stepping it up. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've actually started using standardized patients in the program that I lead now, and it's such a successful experience for the students. They really enjoy it because they're always saying, "I wish it were a real person. I wish I was speaking to a real person."
Mhm.
So it adds that extra layer of fidelity for the students.
Is there anything that you find that aside from that students may be complaining of, that they wish that could see something else, or anything that you feel like would be different that you would want to maybe bring to the field?
Wow, that's a great question. Yeah. No. Let me think about this. Anything that I would want to bring to the field. I might have to come back to that
Okay,
question.
that's okay. We'll
Yeah.
fill y'all in if there's an update.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
If what is a tip that maybe you would want to share to either your former self, or maybe to a student, or maybe someone that's coming into simulation nursing? What would be something that you share with them that maybe you experienced, or that you feel like people should know?
I think so with simulations, you have to really be an open-minded person.
Okay.
And also a creative, right? There's a lot of creativity and there's a lot of autonomy in simulation. And so one of the things that I would recommend is just coming into simulation with an open mind, right? Being willing to bring in your creativity into the space. There are standards of best practice that have been outlined by INOXL specifically, which is the nursing specific simulation organization. But coming into it with an open mind, bringing in your knowledge, and being willing to go that extra mile to apply your creativity and the things that you know in nursing and providing that experience to students. So that's one of the things that I would recommend. It's not one of those, it's not a field where you can come in and sort of be rigid and
Okay.
have be closed minded. You
Hmm.
really have to be open minded about it because there's so much you can do with simulation. There's so much you can do, more than we even think of sometimes.
Oh,
And so coming in with an open mind and just being willing to do the work and willing to bring your knowledge into the space and putting your creativity into that space as well, I think is important.
wow. Honestly, I like that you shared that. To me, even as you're saying that, it can be applied to a lot of different areas in nursing, not only nursing too. That's really kind of
Yeah.
a lot of different fields. So I love that you said that really applies to a lot of areas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, pilots do simulation experiences, right?
Yeah, that's
In order
true.
to start
Yeah.
flying. Like there's so many
Yeah.
different fields that use simulations, but we never really thought about, I guess, titling it maybe.
Yeah.
But they're all simulation experiences, right? So many different fields do simulations. But I think as nurses, we haven't necessarily come to the realization that it's a career path
Yeah.
for us. So
Well,
yeah,
I can't wait to see where this whole entire year takes you. Like, I can't wait to
thank
see
you.
installations of simulation nurse, I don't know what levels, how, and maybe in your creative mind,
Yep. Yep.
speaking with the creativity of how, like, how that can, how you can flourish with that.
Thank
That's like,
you.
that's amazing. That's
Thank you.
amazing. I love that you're doing that. It's something totally different. And, I think like one of the things that I like to emphasize that I didn't never really said it on the show, but I just hope that it kind of carries through, is just to show that you don't have to be stuck at the bedside forever. Now, there are people who are great at bedside, and that's wonderful. But I love that this is a lane that, one, you are creating,
Yeah.
and that it's just something totally different. It's not like your typical, like, I feel like a lot of people lean into like IV hydration, like, as a nurse that's like away from bedside, or things like that. But this is like something totally, totally
New.
different. Like, I
Yeah.
really can't wait to see where you go with this, and other people too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Thanks to the people who came before me. I mean, I didn't necessarily create the lane. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. But there's so many people that came before me, my mentors and people that inspired me to get into simulations that have created this lane. It's just, I do want to bring more awareness
Yeah.
to this career path in nursing for a lot of nurses because nurses are phenomenal. You
We
know what I
are we
mean?
are
We
we
are.
are we are,
And
okay?
I know for a fact that there are so many nurses that wouldn't mind passing down or passing on their knowledge
Mhm.
um, in this way. in such a creative way, in such a hands-on way, if they were aware of it, right?
Yeah.
If they were more aware that it was a career path and something that they could do. It's so much fun, honestly. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's so much fun. Like the students have a lot of fun doing it. The educators have a lot of fun, facilitating it. So definitely something that I think that more nurses should be aware of,
I
for
love that.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't eat our young over here.
No, we don't.
Okay. Thank you so much for stopping by and
Yes,
sharing your knowledge.
of course.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for
More than
having
welcome to
me.
come back, share, and we'll see how you grow, see how you do.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
So keep in mind Simulation Nurse on IG,
Yes.
empowering nurses into careers in simulation. And our slogan is serving the best with sim success.
Period.
Right? Like my daughter would do.